Ready?
And we are live here with Mamas Beyond the Matrix. I am Jonna, one part of Mamas Beyond the Matrix, and we have
Kelly. I am the second half of Mamas Beyond the Matrix. And every week we come to you on Fridays with lives so that we can give you information about moving to Medellin Colombia as a family. However, a lot of information that we provide will apply to anywhere you are moving to, the basic concepts. So just keep that in mind. If you're not interested in moving to Medellin Colombia, some of this information is still going to be relevant for wherever you would like to go to. You ready to start with our topic?
We are ready to talk about our topic today, and this is a hot topic. Let me tell you, this is a hot topic because there's so many people who have this concern, and that is,
do I need to know the language? And particularly here, do I need to know how to speak Spanish in order to live in Medellin, Colombia? So in this video or this live, we are going to talk about our experiences, give you our opinions, and you can make your own decision based off of what we are saying, okay? So here's what we want to kind of start with. If you had to guess the number of reasons why people choose not to move to Medellin, Colombia, do you think it would be the money? Would it be the visas? Would it be the safety? What exactly do you think it would be? And you may be surprised to know that it could just be speaking the language. They don't, and I did not know how to speak Spanish when I first moved here. I am still learning, but you know, I'm making it work and I'm here. Jonna, you have Spanish.
I have a Spanish background, pero no fluido. I'm not fluid in speaking Spanish, not quite yet, and there's some people who may argue that, but I don't feel like I am fluent enough to speak Spanish clearly to my liking. And so with that, that is something that we know people are nervous about moving to another country, and I do speak it well enough to get by, and well enough if you put me in any Spanish speaking country, I will be okay. But there's so many of our viewers, there's so many people who are on the other side of the screen who are like, I don't know any Spanish. No hablo nada.
And you know what? Before I even moved out of the United States, I took some Spanish classes online and tried. But when I got here, it was a whole nother story. It's like everything left my brain. I could not think of any Spanish words, phrases besides hola. You know, like our normal stuff like buenos dias. You know, those types of easy things that we learned. And I don't know what it is, but it was just like I froze in a conversation trying to just do something basic. So I know many of you will have those same kind of experiences, maybe same types of fears, but we're here to kind of tell you, you could push forward. You know, you can still make the move, but you do need to be open to learning the language, because again, if you're moving to a country, whatever language they speak, I feel like out of respect, if you plan on being there long term, yeah, you need to learn the language, at least a little bit. You don't have to be fluent, but I do feel like you need to know enough to be able to integrate yourself in the community. What do you think?
No, I agree 100%, because while we are trying to immerse ourselves in someone else's culture, it would be advantageous for us to not only learn the culture, not only enjoy the food, enjoy the sightseeing, but communicate with the people of the land. And I think there's so many gems that we miss if we do not just even attempt to try to speak the language. And I know there are many expats who are wanting to travel to a place where there are other expats, because there's a comfortability and a comfort zone in knowing there are more people that are there that are like me and I can communicate with. But there's so much value in establishing rapport and relationships with other locals who live in the land, because baby, when I tell you, and Kelly, I know you know this, they're going to give you some insight, they're going to give you some gems on how to navigate the city, on how to communicate, on no, don't pay for that, you're being ripped off, or that's too much money. They're going to give you some very, very valuable lessons that other expats may not even be privy to. So it is important to at least even try to use language. And one of the things that I've learned in Latin countries, not just here in Colombia, but if you just put forth the effort and you show that you are trying, people are willing to meet you. It's very, I've had instances where there are people who don't try to help you, but the percentage that, I mean, I don't even know if I can put it in a percentage, the percentage of that happening as opposed to people who want to help you, who want to communicate with you, and they see that you're trying, they will go the other half of the way to try to meet you to communicate with you. It's very slim chance that you find somebody who is just off put by the fact that you're a foreigner trying to speak the language. And I don't know, has that been your experience too?
Yeah, as long as I try, because again, sometimes I'm too intimidated to try. Sometimes I'm just like, I'm tired. I don't feel like it. I can't even figure it out right now. But I'll try to do a little bit, and yes, I have been corrected. Like it's pronounced this way, or this is the phrase you need to use. So yes, I definitely get help. But to your point, sometimes they just let it go because they understand the gist. So I think it's just like us. If a foreign person is speaking to us in broken English, like we're listening and we get the gist, so we just go ahead and help with whatever they need. Right? Same thing.
And you, as an American, listening to foreigners speak the English language, you kind of tune your ears to listen differently for what you think they may be saying. It's the same for us being foreigners in other countries. They tend to kind of adjust their ears to what they think we are trying to convey. And so with that, what are families most concerned about with moving abroad and not being able to speak the language? It's the basics. It's really the basics. Can I order my food? What if I have an emergency and I need to go to the doctor, or I need to be hospitalized, or something happened to my child? I mean, that, for most of us being parents who are watching this, that's really the concern, is if something happens with my child, or even myself, and I can't even communicate in my own language, how do I try to communicate in a different language to people who will not be able to understand me? But especially if you are a parent and you have children, you want to be able to convey that there's an emergency, that something happened, and you don't want to be flustered in the state of an emergency and not being able to speak the language. And I think that is a fear of many parents. And I'll share a little story with you. But before I get into that, I want to give some more examples. If you're planning to move abroad and you are planning to put your children in school and communicating with the teachers, especially if there's a concern with your child, if there's a behavioral issue and you are wanting to have a conversation with the teacher, that's something that you want to be able to just flow in that conversation. Things as simple as going to the grocery store and making friends, and you don't want to feel isolated in the country, especially if you work so hard to plant your feet on foreign soil where you can grow and you can heal. You want to be able to communicate and not feel isolated and build community. And so with that, I want to share that even with my comfortability with the language, there were two things. There are two things that I've always said I don't want to compromise on this, and that is legal, if I needed to have a legal conversation, or if I needed to have a medical conversation, because although I'm comfortable with speaking Spanish, I don't want to be put in a position where something medically happens and I need to speak Spanish and I'm very uncomfortable, because even trying to think about the medical terms in English, the jargon could be, let me remember some of these phrases, but then to try to do that in another language. The same with work in the legal system. And this past year, and even more recently this past week, I've had situations where I've had to have a legal conversation when we were working to get our visa. The good thing about it was we worked with a firm that was bilingual, so we used some Spanish, but they were able to speak to us in English. So that's important too when moving to another country, finding establishments, professionals, legal professionals, medical professionals that who are bilingual, and then have them. And then even more recently with navigating my daughter's surgery, as well as navigating some medical things with my family, and finding the specialist, finally finding the specialist that we need, but they don't speak English. They don't speak English. And I think that helped me to realize and actually gain a little more confidence in understanding that I know a little more Spanish than I give myself credit for. But if you plant your feet in a foreign land and you can navigate the medical system with at least a PCP who is bilingual, and actually have them to help you to navigate the medical system and find other specialists who are bilingual, that will help you tremendously, because that will help ease some of that anxiety about navigating medically, legally, a foreign land with needing to also speak the language.
Yes, yes. So I think, let me ask just one question to you guys out there. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident do you feel speaking Spanish today? Like, just drop in the comments if you could let us know how confident you are.
Well, let's do it first. What's your number?
Yes, girl.
1 to 10. On 1 to 10, what's your number? Your comfortability level with speaking
2.
Spanish?
I'm a 2.
No, Kelly.
Yes, it is. Even though I'm learning Spanish, I still do not feel comfortable speaking it.
Okay.
Because some things I still can't quite, like, they'll speak to me, but I still can't quite understand certain things. But at the same time, if someone is saying a full sentence or full, like, giving me information, if I look at their body language, I'm studying the situation, the context, I can kind of grasp and understand what they're saying.
Right.
But if I hop in a Uber car or a Didi car or whatever, and the driver is like, blah, 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 I might understand, like, they're just repeating where I'm going. But if they start asking me more stuff, then it's like my brain's like, huh? What? Like, even, I just can't catch it. My ear can't catch it. But I think that's also part of me doing more practice with listening and speaking. I also don't feel as confident to speak because I know I do not pronunciate things. I don't pronunciate things well in English. So when it comes to Spanish, I'm really like, oh my goodness.
Okay.
And I have to use my mouth in a whole nother way.
Yes. And your brain.
And my brain. Someone told me, because I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, that it's not the slang, I guess the way we speak, we have a dialect, we have a lazy tongue. And I've been told that, and I didn't realize that until I started trying to learn Spanish. I'm like, oh, I guess we do. We don't pronunciate the whole things, or we pronunciate things differently, and we don't open our mouths as much, you know, and I'm having to do all of the things, rolling my tongue, put my tongue in between my teeth to say certain words, and it's like I'm not used to doing that, so it's very, very challenging. So yeah, I'm gonna give myself a 2. I'm sorry.
If I had to rate Kelly, I'd give her a little higher than a 2, but I understand. I think I would rate myself maybe 6.5, 7. Okay. 6.5, 7. There's some situations I'm just not comfortable with, but I'm gonna say 7. I'm going to say 7, and because I feel like I can navigate. And we didn't even talk about that, but transportation is really important to navigate.
Oh yes,
because some of these places here that they will try to drop you off, and unless you can communicate, no, this is not quite it. The pin says here. You will be dropped off in some very questionable areas and places, so you want to be able to communicate that. But I think with transportation, school system, I think all of the things that we mentioned, I think I'm pretty good at getting the information I need in Spanish. And if I can't, there's some resources and tools we're going to talk about to help you navigate the foreign land without necessarily even knowing the language. But to move along, it's not only just the communicating piece of it, it's the emotional piece behind communicating. Because as a parent, you may be thinking, well, it's not just me. What if I need to help my child? And what if I cannot help them, especially in the state of an emergency? What if I'm trying to help them with their homework? Maybe it's not an emergency, but it's their homework and it's in Spanish. And we already know as Americans, you know, trying to help children with the new math And that's in English. So just think about the complexity of trying to help your child with their schoolwork in Spanish. That's a whole nother level. And then what if I misunderstand something? And what if it's something legally, medically, transportation wise, it can impact and be a domino effect on the rest of your day, your month, whatever. And so I think I already shared previously about navigating, the medical system with my daughter and her surgery, and and I even mentioned just not too long ago, but that built so much confidence in me. But I was really nervous.
Yeah.
Kelly, I was really nervous. I was really scared because this is my baby. My baby needs to have surgery, and I need to communicate with someone. The good thing was, even though the specialist did not speak English, he could understand.
Okay.
He could understand English pretty well. And so we had a Spanglish thing going on. And even though I may not have the comfortability of speaking fluently in English to navigate this surgery that my daughter had to have, I still feel confident that we understood each other. Okay. And a lot of that goes to what you were saying, is like reading the room.
Yeah.
The body language, the mannerisms, the context. Even if you can pick up on certain words in context and even try to clarify, I was clarifying in English and he understood that. And so we had a nice piece of communication going on between us. And that was scary for me, and we made it through that. And after we made it through that, I was like, okay, we can navigate in a Spanish-speaking country. So my question to you is, what situation, we named quite a few, but what situation would make you feel most nervous if you didn't speak Spanish? Of those, what would you feel? Is it the transportation? Is it the...
I think for me, just being here, I've had to take the kids to the doctor. However, and I'm going to tell you guys this, I utilize my nanny to do a whole lot for me.
Including translation.
So when I have to take the kids to or we have a meeting at the school, or something needs to be clarified, or I need to understand what's happening, I'll take her with me. I have taken them on doctor's appointments, but the doctors I've been dealing with here do speak English.
Okay, good.
So I do try to find doctors that are bilingual, so that I can really understand what's going on and make sure if they say you need a prescription, yada, 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 I know what to get and what to do and how to give it to the kids. So I think the most nervous, I think school is the most thing nervous.
Really?
Because I have to deal, school is like a regular thing.
Right.
And here they want you to participate way more than they do in the United States, with different activities or events or whatever it may be. So just having to talk to the teachers about the kids, if they do have the schoolwork, understanding what they need to do, and it takes more time because I'm having to use a translator to read the homework. Then, okay, this is what we need to do, and then do it. And then we have to make sure we write it in Spanish, so we're using a translator again. So it's going to take a little bit more time. So I would say actually going to the schools and talking to the administrators and the teachers, that's something I would have to do more often than going to the doctor.
But does not being able to be fluent in the language prevent you from wanting to live here?
No.
Okay.
It doesn't. However, there has been moments where I've been like, ooh, do I want to move to a country where I know the language? Because it'll be easier for me, I have had those thoughts, like maybe I should just go to an English-speaking country. But then I have to think about, well, what does that culture look like? How far away is it going to be? Is that going to be feasible for me financially? Just a lot of different things come up where I'm like, I have community here. I can depend on community, and it's like you can go to other places and don't have those things. And I just feel like having community, being in a place where I'm comfortable, not being too far from the United States, but far enough, having a place where I enjoy the weather all year round, like those things are really, really important to me. So I feel like I just got to work out the Spanish. I just got to work it out. I mean, there are plenty of people here who have never even tried to take a Spanish class, and they've been living here for who knows how long.
And they've been making
They've
been getting by.
And I understand it's different situations because a lot of times those people are people who don't have a family. So it's easier for them to navigate because who do they have to worry about besides themselves? They don't have to deal with schools and this and that, you know, the things that we have to deal with, the sports and extracurriculars and things. So
yeah, those are low levels of complexity.
Yeah. So that's a whole nother level. And I always have to remind people, like, being here as a family or moving abroad as a family, period, is a different level than moving abroad as a single person.
It's a completely different experience.
Totally different experience, different expectations. So you have to be ready. It's not as easy. It really is not as easy. But did that stop me? No. Because as long as I have a translator on my phone, I'm gonna look at it. Or if I can't do that, no habla español or mi español es poquito, like let them know, like I only speak a little bit of Spanish. I can try my best, and then they're like, okay, but I'm gonna try to respond to you, but know that I may not understand, you know, everything. So let's get into the daily life, and because I just mentioned quite a few things, right? So let's just talk about daily life. Now you guys are going to get the experience of a person who has some Spanish, so quite a bit of Spanish, I feel like, versus a person who doesn't have much Spanish, and how we navigate that in two different totally ways, right? So we talked about a little bit earlier, like the grocery shopping and restaurants and things like that. So let me start with the grocery shopping because I do that on a weekly basis, and I'm sure you do too, probably more than one time a week sometimes. Now, at first, I'm okay with going to the grocery store. However, my challenge is always the butcher, getting my meat. So they do have some meat that's frozen, yes, but a majority of it, you just go to the butcher to go ask for whatever the meat you want to get it fresh, right? I still can't do that. So I have to take my nanny with me to go grocery shopping. Now I can go get my produce, the canned stuff, everything else, but when it comes to the butcher, I can't do that. So she goes with me to the grocery store every week, and you know, I have my list. We split it up. We go get what we need to get. She handles that part, and that's how I navigate it. But otherwise, like we have the fruterias or the little corner tiendas, I can go and get whatever I need to go. As long as I can go see with my own eyes and pick it up with my own hands, I'm good. And I don't have to ask questions, I'm good. So that is how I navigate grocery shopping. What about you?
I think the same thing, and I haven't thought about the butcher because I don't personally go to the butcher too much. I don't eat a lot of meat. My husband handles the meats, and you just made me realize I think he does most of the like meat shopping for us because he gets, and then we also order a service in to get the bulk of our protein and our meats. So that kind of cuts down on the communication at the grocery store because we can communicate through the apps and whatnot. But yeah, I think I'm pretty comfortable at the grocery stores, and there are certain things that you are just not going to find here in the grocery stores that we have in America, and that's, I think, where when I'm trying to explain what it is and there's not maybe a translation for it because it just doesn't exist here, I may get stuck. But also using your phone and showing pictures and going back to the very basics of communicating, I mean, I think is appreciated too. Like if they don't understand what you're saying in English, you have your phone with a good internet connection, you can pull up a picture, they will help you. They'll help you.
And I think the other part of grocery shopping when I first got here was the cashier. Because I didn't know what they were really saying. Now I've gone enough to understand, oh, they're asking me if I need a bag. They're asking if I have a number, for the store to get the discounts and stuff. So now I understand because it's the same question. So I'm like, okay, I got that part. So I'm good, with that. Now, one place that I do not feel comfortable going to by myself is the open markets. Like
Las Americas?
Yeah, because that is just like, it's an open market, and I'm like, how do I have to actually ask for what I want, whether it's produce or meat or whatever it may be. Most of the time you gotta ask for whatever it is. So that I will always take someone who speaks Spanish with me to those types of places.
And in the open market, which is similar to like your farmer's market, I mean, they have the things right out there for you too. So pointing, saying yes, no, that's not it, go back behind there. They usually can kind of pick up on what you're asking for.
Okay. So yeah, I think that covers pretty much the grocery shopping. Now, when it comes to like the restaurants, coffee shops, and different things, I haven't had a problem because a lot of times they will have, well, some of the major restaurants, they'll have a menu in English and one in Spanish. Or they'll have like a little barcode or whatever, QR code that you scan and you can see it. Or you scan it and it'll automatically translate it on your phone directly. Take a picture with your Google Translate to, translate it in English. So it's so many ways that you can look at a menu and be able to order what you want. And if you can't say it, then you can just point to it and they're like, oh, okay, I got it, So that's not hard at all. The driving and deliveries and stuff, I guess, again, it goes back to I just didn't know when I got into the car that they may be confirming where I'm going, and I had to get used to like, oh, they're saying this is where you're going, and I'm like, yeah.
Isn't it on the app?
Right. And so, and that was something I wasn't used to because I'm like, in the States, you get in an Uber, they know where you're going, so they just take you. It's no question. But here, they're always like, this is your destination. Oh, okay, yeah, So again, it's just those things you have to get used to. If you get a delivery, a lot of times they may call you if there's a problem, or if you have security, the porteria may call you to say your delivery is here. So those types of things. So I was like, ooh, I don't know what they're saying, So that could be a little bit of struggle. But again, they know you don't speak Spanish. So if a security guard in your building, they know you don't speak Spanish, so they'll just be like, okay, whatever, go ahead, send it up or whatever. Or if you're getting the delivery and security's calling, most likely they're calling to say, hey, your delivery's here, is this you? You just say yes, or they'll tell you to come pick it up or whatever it may be.
So speaking of that, you're saying the porterias, they know that you don't speak English. I'm sorry, you don't speak Spanish, but they'll kind of advocate for you in Spanish, right? Because they know the delivery is probably for you,
right?
And they know how to communicate. Okay, go up, she's along like the third floor,
exactly,
and communicate. But what's interesting is, I don't think you mentioned this, but your nanny also doesn't speak English.
My nanny does not,
but she translates for you. So how does that work?
You know what, that is interesting. I didn't even think about talking about that. I think it's just because she's here with us on a regular basis. She knows what's going on in the house, and I do talk to her and like translate like what's going on. Like today, the doctor's coming, or one of the kids, their stomach is hurting, or she knows what's happening within the house because she's here. She sees it. I'll type it in Spanish and translate it to her. So that's how we kind of navigate. And I use my translator on a regular basis, and she gets mad at me because she's like, don't use it, because she wants me to use my Spanish.
Yes.
And I'm like, but I can't think of the words in Spanish, and I need to get this out right now. I don't have all day for this. So she's like, no.
High five to the nanny who's
right. She's like, no,
Kelly,
no. I'm like, oh.
But I've been around you and your nanny, and I think that speaks volumes of your relationship that you have, because she doesn't speak English at all, very little English, but you all are able to ebb and flow and understand each other. I see you speak to her in English, and she'll respond to you in Spanish. But there's a level of comfortability there, and there is another like layer of a channel of communication that y'all have, which is energy and vibe, where you can understand each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's key for people who may be watching, who are thinking, man, well, I don't speak any Spanish at all, and maybe I can get a nanny, but what if she's not bilingual? There are ways that when you just try, and when you have a level of vulnerability, and when they're in your space and they kind of know, like I feel like there is a language that we don't talk about as much, and it's universal. And we talk, and it's body language, it's context, but energy. energy, which is also a part of the body language, but people can understand energy any day, all day. They know when you're nervous, they know when you're uncomfortable, they know when you are confident. And there's a level of energy that I see that you have with your nanny that's your language currency that y'all have. But it took some time to get there, but you are there.
Yeah, and you know, as I have my Spanish classes, I'll speak more to her because then that's also my way of practicing, because I'm in the house working, speaking English pretty much all day. So that helps me practice as much as I can while I'm in the house. But yeah, she definitely gets on me, and she's like, no, Kelly, no. So right, yeah. So, but then also on another note, again, the kids did not know Spanish when they got here, and again, the nanny only spoke Spanish. So but the kids were able to navigate. She was still able to take care of the kids with no problem. That's how the kids. I know my youngest one, well, both of them. That's how they probably learned, the entry level Spanish. And they just go from there, and then they're also able to practice, but they're also in school, and get
their brains
Spanish.
are more palatable, so they can absorb more of the information and make it normal for themselves, and so it's their second language.
Yep. Now, as far as more challenging situations, definitely handling business. Immigration, the visa stuff, when you have to go to the immigration office. Now, there was someone who did speak English there. However, like, the expectation is not to go in any government or business or anything facility speaking English. Like,
or expecting
someone to speak English to you, right? You need to try to figure it out and learn Spanish, or you use whatever Spanish you have. But those are more challenging situations, especially when you go for the first time and you don't know how to operate or how to navigate that. And once you go one time, now you kind of know, like, oh, okay, I gotta go here, talk to this person, sit down and wait. They'll tell me to go here. You know the process. But that first time, it's intimidating.
It can be.
It's intimidating.
It can be.
Anything else? I haven't dealt with banking. I don't think you have either.
Not directly. No,
Okay.
I haven't. My husband has, but I haven't dealt with the banking here. Not solo.
But utilities. Now, I haven't had to deal with turning on utilities. You have. So talk to them about, like, getting in a new place and having to deal with the utilities or issues like with the internet and all of those things.
Well, when we moved, our first month, we pretty much were paying for internet service, but did not have internet service. And it was very frustrating because, much like many other service providers, they want you to communicate online, or they want to make you use the app, and that wasn't working for us because they wanted us to have a local number. We have a local number here in Medellin, but for some reason it wasn't registering, which then means that we cannot communicate in these forms on the app. We can't communicate online because it's not registering the number to pull up our account. So what do we have to do? We have to go to the office, and those lines are extremely long. And trying to communicate with the rep who's telling you the same thing, just use the app. Just use the app, and I'm trying to communicate. I know how to use the app. The app is available, but it's not registering for us. And that was a long process to finally get them to understand, okay, these people aren't making this up. Because I think from their perspective, we're just foreigners and we don't know how to use the process. When our frustration is, we know how to use the process isn't working for us. So they finally sent someone to our home. But that navigating that was frustrating, because if we work from home and we don't have internet, that means we have to then work remote, co-work, spend more money, which is, not bad. We want to get out the house anyway. We don't want to work at home 100% of the time. But when we have to work out of the house 100% of the time, that's just, we're paying for internet service. Now we're paying for internet service that we cannot use, plus paying to go out just so we can have internet service to do our work. So that was an interesting time to navigate, and I know you were around as we were navigating but we finally got it figured out, and it took a lot of persistence to get that figured out, but we finally got it figured out.
Yeah. So I know, and you've had experiences with contracts and leases. I haven't had too much of an issue. I mean, of course, all the contracts, leases, and everything are going to be in Spanish. I simply either one, put it in chat, GPT, and ask it to translate it for me, and it translates the whole thing. I upload the document, and it just read it in English, no problems. Or I'll use Google Translate, put it in Google Translate, copy and paste. But it's easier to use chat.
Okay, so let's pause because you're talking about something that's really, really, really important, and I don't want to overlook that we are talking about the actual resources and the actual tools that we can use as English speakers that will help make our lives better with navigating the Spanish language. And so you talked about Chat GPT, Google Translate, which is an app on your phone like all the other Google apps, which is really, really, really useful. Most expats use Google Translate. What else?
Or any other like translation apps that you really, really like. So we talked about any, and you don't have to use Chat either. You can use any AI that you use Claude, or if you use any of the other ones. Whatever it is, you can use AI. WhatsApp, you put me on this. So WhatsApp has a voice translation feature. So a lot of times people will leave you a voice note instead of a text. And that's difficult in Spanish. So that's difficult if you can't understand it, right? So what I was doing is I had an old phone. And so I would play the message on one phone and then use Google Translate on the other phone and put it together and let it like listen to each other and then read what the translation was.
I was doing the same thing, Kelly, and it's just like doing way too much, but I was doing the same thing.
But that's how that's the only thing I know how to do.
It's the only way.
So WhatsApp has a feature where you can actually set it up to automatically translate the voicemails or voice notes, I should call them. Now, sometimes it doesn't automatically translate or isn't the best, so I may have to still go the old route, but it is an option. It is an option. So that's another tool you can use. Taking Spanish classes. I'm using Preply. Like that's online, and I know it's well known. Just like get in, get some Spanish classes, learn some basic Spanish phrases will help you, whether that's going to an actual class, live, online. They have a lot of Spanish schools here.
A lot.
That will teach
Spanish immersion,
Spanish immersion programs. Yeah. So there are simple tools out there. Those are like the most popular that people use that would definitely help you.
And one of the best tools is just practice with someone else.
Yeah.
Find a native Spanish speaker who is near or around you and just practice with them. Even if it's basic ABC, 1, 2, 3, can I go to the bathroom? So you can be prepared with how to access the bathroom, how to access a menu, how to ask for a menu, or how to navigate ordering. Very, very basic things so that when you land and relocate, you at least have the basics. You at least are comfortable with the very basics. Because if you are comfortable with the basics, everything else you can learn. But the basics it's pivotal. It's pivotal with landing in another Spanish-speaking country.
Yes, and another tip I'm gonna give you that I just started doing. I use chat to practice with me. So if you don't have a Spanish speaker to practice with, I was able to download chat on my phone. And it has a voice option. So I asked it, I told it, I was like, hey, I need to practice my Spanish. I'm in Colombia, so I need Colombian dialect, and I want you to role play with me. So I'll give it a scenario. We're in the grocery store and I'm checking out. Talk to me like you're the cashier. So it'll start saying whatever it says, and then I have to respond. So it'll also say what the response should be. And if I don't understand it, I'll say, can you please slow down? Can you please repeat? What is that in English? Because I don't understand. So it'll do all of that for you and start talking back to you. And then you say, okay, let me practice. And you say it back. So it's another way to use AI.
Okay.
Yes, to practice speaking. I need to do it more, but I've definitely used it. And I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And I need to be more intentional about doing it on a daily basis. Because that's what I'm not doing. So yeah, you can start taking classes to learn Spanish, but you also got to practice on a regular basis, which is my fault. But I'm just gonna let you know, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable and feeling silly. Like a lot of times I get intimidated, and that's why I don't want to speak. But sometimes I'm just like, look, this is what it is. I know it's not right. I know it's not probably the correct grammar, but you get what I'm saying, and I'm gonna laugh at myself, just like you can laugh at me too. It's okay, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like, I know I've been in cars, and I'm trying to say straight ahead, but I'm not saying it. I'm saying that. But I'm saying aurora, or something like up, like tall, or something. I'm saying it. It's not right.
Aurora is right now.
Okay, well maybe that's what. See, that's all like I'm saying something that's not right.
like you're trying to get out right now,
right now. And I'll be like, aurora, like pointing, and they'll probably be like, what?
and also understanding that depending on where you go, they speak Spanish. It's not the same.
It's not.
Spanish in Mexico is not the same as Spanish in here in Colombia. Colombian Spanish is not the same as Spanish. It's different. But if you try, they'll usually
Girl, I know I'll be making a fool of myself.
And some locals will correct you, and I think some of them feel intimidated to correct us too. I think some of them may feel a little too intimidated to correct us. But you, as long as you're open, you're like, am I saying this correctly?
Right.
They'll be more than happy to help you get it right.
I'll mess up something in a minute. Oh my goodness! But I'm like, hey, you know what I mean, right? Like, I'm pointing, like hand gestures, anything I can do to get my point across.
Across, straight, derecho.
That way.
Derecho. Okay, so like, what is one phrase that you think you know in Spanish? Like, put it in the chat. What is like one phrase that you maybe, even if it's hola, ¿cómo estás? Which is Kelly.
Hello, how are you? Okay. I know that. I think we should all know that though.
Some of us. You know, what's another phrase then?
Oh Lord, now you're gonna put me on the spot. Oh, like ¿dónde está el baño? Like, where's the bathroom?
Okay.
You know, like those little things.
Right.
That I'm like, I know that.
Okay, good.
But when you tell
that's
me,
basics. That's basics though.
But how many times have I asked, how do I say I need a takeaway box? I can never remember how to say it. And I never can remember it. It's like my brain, I don't know what it is, but it's like some stuff sticks, some stuff just does not stick. And I'm like, I want it to stick.
Para yerba. So,
para yerba.
Sí.
And then I gotta roll my tongue. And then I gotta.
But we getting there. We getting there. You trying?
Well, yes, I am. I'm trying.
You trying?
Yes. So, but we talked a little bit earlier about the kids in Spanish.
Yes.
So you have two young ones. I have two young ones. Yours a little younger than mine.
Yes.
However, all of them have been exposed to the language and pretty much speak it. Well, my oldest doesn't speak as well as my youngest. However, he does know, and he still is in classes. So I'm giving him grace because he knows more than me. So.
Let's talk about that. So I really feel like in most parents who have children that live in a foreign country will probably attest to this. The younger the better. The younger the better. The younger that you can expose, the younger they are, you can expose them to a second, third language. The easier it's going to be for them to pick it up. And it's just because their minds are already so impressionable. They're learning so much. Their brains are yet developing at such a quick rate. They can take on all of this information and make it their normal ecosystem, make it their normal world where they can learn through playing. They learn quickly through having conversations with other young children. They learn through play dates. They learn pronunciations and they pick it up. I mean, my 3-year-old has corrected me on how to pronounce certain things. And remember in the beginning when I said I'm about a 6.5 to a 7? Kelly, I feel like my children will humble me. They're getting to a point where they are going to humble me very quickly, and maybe I'll go down to a 5 because I'm getting to the point. All they know is Spanish speaking. As I won't even say a second language because it's pretty much 2 primary languages for them because from their birth we've lived in a Spanish speaking country. But I was telling my husband we speak pretty good Spanish. But we are going to have to start taking additional Spanish classes because within the next 6 months to a year, these girls are going to be running laps around us with their Spanish. And they already are. They say certain words. They'll translate for me. They'll translate. And they're 3 and they're 4. And I don't want, and it happens so many times, and we see it even in the U.S. where the children are leaned on for the parents to translate.
Yep.
And it's good to have them as a resource, but I also feel like that doesn't always allow them to remain a child and stay a child, because they're needing to get into adult affairs. And like, just say if I'm going to the dentist, or I'm going to a medical appointment, and there's something little, and it could be minor, that I don't understand, but now I have to ask my child to help me communicate. It kind of takes away a little bit of them just experiencing the language for themselves on a child level, because now they're needing to translate adult affairs.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, and it actually speaks volumes to our children, and I think even their maturity level, because those children who do that for their parents, they understand business differently at a younger age. They understand economics differently at a younger age, navigating business offices better than some adults, because they have to do that translation for so there's pros and cons to it, but there are several different ways that our children learn, and it just sticks to them. So there's so many people who wonder, if I have children, how are they going to learn the language? Are they going to be able to stick? Is it going to be able to stick with them? And also, I know, and you've done this, the tutorings. So you want to talk about the tutorings?
Yeah. Okay. So let me just say how my kids started off. They came to Colombia with zero Spanish, just like me. And actually, they didn't even start taking Spanish classes until we were probably here for a good 6 or 7 months. They were in a bilingual school, so they did hear some Spanish there. But
back in the States?
No, here in Colombia.
Okay.
When we first came, I did have them in a bilingual private school. My oldest one, he, whatever classes were in Spanish, he was failing because he just didn't understand, which I gave him grace on that because I understood, you know. My youngest one, he was in like kindergarten, so of course he was able to pick it up, but there were also other kids that spoke English in his class that could help navigate and translate a little bit as well. So it's been a different experience. Now so I still have my oldest in Spanish classes, but my youngest, he's in an all Spanish speaking school here, a public school now, and he navigates it quite well. We actually had to go to the school for a meeting because the counselor was concerned about the kids and how they're doing as far as being in that school.
Right.
And she was talking about, I thought she wanted to meet for my youngest. And he was in the office with us, but really it was about my oldest. And I'm like, well, why?
Why is he here?
Why didn't you just say that? But whatever. So when she talked to my youngest, she was like, oh yeah, he's bilingual. And he hadn't even been in that school that long. So that was just between what he learned at the other school, speaking with the nanny, playing on the football team, playing at the playground with the kids there. Like, he had just picked up, and then being in the classroom for just a little bit of time, he was able to respond. He understands what's happening. He speaks whole conversations. He may have to pause a minute sometimes, but he'll know what to say. He may think a little bit, but he'll know what to say. So it's been interesting to see like the different levels and how they grow. My oldest, he is more comfortable. He's not comfortable speaking as much. He can do it, but he's not as comfortable.
Well,
but he does understand. He does understand. So I'm just trying to get him to the level so that he can actually get back into a Spanish-speaking school and be okay in the classroom. So he's still, going to take his classes until that point happens. But yeah, that's all I'm concerned about.
I mean, and I think that's a good example, like polar example of how like some children, they learn fast, some take a little more time. Both are normal.
Yeah.
Both are very normal, because you have to understand that if you're moving, especially directly from the United States into a different country, that could be a culture shock in itself, and then you adding in a layer of another language. It can be a lot for not just us as adults, but for children as well. So give yourself grace, give yourself time, and understand that some learn quicker, some may take a little time, need some more resources like tutors and extra maybe games or apps that will help you learn, like gamified apps that help you learn, but just that's part of the process.
And then too, I think it's also a personality thing because my youngest, he's a social butterfly. He wants to talk to everybody. He doesn't care. He'll talk to strangers. But my oldest, he's not going to do that, and I'm not going to do it either. So of course we're not practicing as much. And of course, also my youngest doesn't care if he messes up. He's a kid, so he's just like whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Versus my oldest and myself, we're still kind of conscious of, ooh, I don't want to look crazy, or you know, I might, I don't want to feel a certain kind of way because you know I'm not saying this correctly. So just understand, you know, everybody's going to be different. Everybody's going to go at their own pace, like you said, like you said. So we were talking about the kids and how they learn Spanish and, you know, without feeling overwhelmed. Let's give some tips that could assist them. We talked about tutoring a little bit. However, there are a lot of Spanish exchanges.
Yes.
Now, I don't know if there's a lot for the kids. I know there are a lot for the adults. Have you seen a lot for the kids?
You know, other than like the World School Group that's here where they have a segment to practice bilingual skills, I feel like it's more for the parents though. So I don't know that it fits more
because I've been there and the kids are kind of just playing and the parents are talking. So I agree. I think that's more for the parents.
But then you also have to take into consideration that that's how kids learn, through play.
Yeah.
So I've seen the children, both English being their first language and then Spanish being their first language, they come together and they play. And I watched them, I've observed them, and they speak piece by piece different languages. So it's more like a Spanglish kind of conversation, and then they'll help them. I've seen them where they kind of teach them, no, that's what this means in Spanish. So even if they're playing, that is their avenue of learning another language too.
Yeah, and then also some of the kids here are learning English. So we will go to the playground, and if they hear you speak English, they want to practice their English. So sometimes it's just about the kids just playing together and speaking in English, you know, or both English and Spanish, like you said.
Right.
So don't think that that's not an option. There are plenty of young kids here that speak English, or they're learning it in school, or they have some type of basic foundation of English.
I want to talk about that because it'll be funny sometimes, and you may have experiences where you're out and then they'll listen to you, because don't forget that there's Afro-Colombians here too. So sometimes people will think that we are part of the Afro-Colombian culture here because of our skin complexion, but we're not. And then when we open our mouths, you know, certain people's ears will turn, and then you see, especially young kids, they're like, oh, you speak English, and they will, and you can kind of see them look to their friend or look to their parent like with this giddiness, and then they'll tiptoe over to you and they're like, can I speak in English with you? Because they want to practice. It's the cutest thing, and it's like, yeah, sure, we can speak in English, and they're like, okay, what is your name? When is your birthday? Have you had that happen?
Definitely.
It's the cutest. It's the cutest thing. So they're also, just like we're intrigued with their culture and their language, they're equally intrigued, especially the younger kids. Yes.
Yeah. We've been at restaurants and a kid will come up to the table and just stand there a little bit, and then I'll say hello, and they're like, hello.
Yes. It's
or
cute.
at football practice, you know, they're just surrounding me and trying to talk, and I'm like, hold on, now wait a minute, I can't understand everything, but come on.
And because of that, your children who speak English might be popular by default because the kids want to learn English. So just be mindful of that too.
They're going to get a lot of attention.
They will get a lot of attention.
I can say when they switched over to the all Spanish speaking school, they got a lot of attention, and it's not necessarily good all the time.
All the time. That's
because
true.
Because the focus is always on them, even with the kids and the administration, because they speak English.
Because they're outcasts.
Yeah, they're different. They're different. And then also I've had the kids tell me like, oh, you know, the kids are saying stuff they shouldn't be saying, but the teachers don't understand, so they're getting away with it, like saying curse words or saying, you know, different things. Or they're doing stuff to my kids, and then my kids get in trouble when they retaliate back. because my kids may not be able to explain what happened as much as they can. So it's like been those type of scenarios too that I just have to make you aware of, because that stuff can and will happen.
It does happen.
It does happen. Bullying happens here, you know, just like it happens any other place. So you do have to be mindful and really listen to your children when they're talking to you, because sometimes, you know, we'll be like, that's just kid stuff, or, you know, whatever, and we kind of blow it off. But you do have to listen, because sometimes you may have to advocate for your child, because they are the different one in the school or the class or whatnot. So some things may happen.
And even being more creative with the questions you ask, not only the administrators, the teacher, but your children as well, because of those language barriers. So not only advocating, but asking deeper, more through. And I've seen you do it with your boys too, you know, like, did this really happen? Or, okay, explain it to me. How did this happen? What did they say? How did they look? And that's kind of how you get a clearer picture, not just black and white, but full color
of what happened. Yeah, like, did you misunderstand, or did you say something that was rude?
How was your facial expression?
Yeah, they said something back to you, like, you know, sometimes it's both parties now.
Because again, people read energy.
Yeah.
People they know that's the language people know.
Yeah. But as far as like when we first got here, just the survival skills, I definitely taught them like how to ask for the bathroom, how to say that they're hungry, if something's wrong, you know, like those little things, because if the nanny's around, they need to tell her. You know, or a teacher, they need to tell them they gotta go to the bathroom. Like, those are important things. I'm hungry, like, you need to know how to say that, you know. So I would offer those basic things, survival skill, that survival language, I should say, to share with your kids. You make sure they learn that at least, so that they can navigate a little bit on their own and have a little bit of independence. Of course, they get practice every day, because they're playing with kids that are Spanish speaking. So that's very helpful, as we just talked about. Not focusing on being perfect, because, you know, kids they're not gonna do that anyway. Just make sure they know, relax. It's okay if you make a mistake, or if they don't understand, you may slow down, or, you know, do whatever you need to do so that you can communicate effectively, right? All right. So let's move on, because I think we kind of went on, and I don't want to make this too long, but you want to tell a story about anything, like, okay, words you mispronounced that you had or conversations that boost your confidence?
You know, I mispronounce things all the time, even though I feel like I'm a 6.5, 7 with speaking the language. I'm just comfortable with making mistakes. I'm comfortable with saying things wrong and being corrected and saying, okay, it's not vivamos, it's vivimos, you know, which is I live somewhere, you know, and I may not have even said it right now. I believe I did, but it's just, and it's little subtleties in the way that you pronounce a word or a vowel in a word that will make the difference. Just like in English, you know, I can't think of a word right now, but there's certain words, if you say it a certain way,
it means
like read. Like I'm going to read such and such and such, or I read. It's spelled the same way, but depending on how you use it in context, you know, it's very similar also in Spanish. So, I mean, I mispronounce things all the time, and I get corrected all the time, and I'm okay with being corrected, because that means that I'm coachable, I want to learn, and I want to improve.
And you also had Spanish classes before in the past, right?
Oh, long ago.
But there are so many people here who haven't had any Spanish classes.
True.
They're just jumping in and just living daily life and just immersing themselves and picking up the language that way. So,
which is, I think, the best way to learn it, though.
If you have the time to do it, if you actually have the time to get out the house and actually interact with Spanish-speaking people on a regular basis, yes. But for like me, I'm working all day, so I can't get out the house. I don't get out the house that much. Okay. I'm in the house most of the days, almost every day. Most of the time I'm in the house, and I only go out, like, you know, for errands, or because again, we live here, so I'm not constantly out like I would be if I was on vacation or just here for a short amount of time. I'm in the house a lot of times.
Okay, so let's practice something.
No, I don't want to practice.
No, because the next part is me we gotta celebrate small wins when you're learning the language. You'll know this. And if you don't, I'll help you. It's okay. Because we're talking about. No, you're okay. Because we're talking about when we in the car and we're doing directions and stuff. How do you say right?
Oh, well, yeah, I know that. So, a la derecha is right, and a la izquierda, which I've been corrected on, izquierda is left. So, I know that.
So, straight, think of right, derecha, but it's derecho.
Derecho.
So, that's how you're going to remember it now. Derecho.
Okay.
So, see, small win. You got that.
I got that.
You got that.
But see, that's how I have to learn, though, because
yes,
in my Spanish classes, they're into grammar, and I hate grammar in English, so it bores me to death. And then the grammar in Spanish is even more complicated.
You need more conversational.
Oh, I need more conversational. So I need those phrases just like you did right now. I have to learn that way. I learn that way better. Yes. However, you know. I'm working with my teacher because she's the teacher. So, but I do notice that if you teach me a useful phrase and I just say it over and over and over and practice it, then that helps me out much better.
She got this, y'all. She got this. You got this, Kelly.
I'm on the struggle bus with this Spanish. I'm on the struggle bus.
But you on the bus.
I'm on the bus now.
You're not at the bus stop. You on the bus. So, all right. So let's bring this plane. Let's land this plane.
Yes.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, you do not have to be fluent. You do not need to know a lot of Spanish to make a Spanish-speaking country your second home. And, here on our platform, we talk specifically about Medellín Colombia. There's so many people who Kelly has referenced that come here knowing zero Spanish, and they're still able to make it. By using apps, by using context clues, by asking for the menus in English or translating the menus. You can absolutely do it. It may not be comfortable at first, especially depending on how comfortable you are with being uncomfortable and making mistakes. But if you're okay with making mistakes, falling and getting back up, you will be fine. Trust me, you'll be fine. But and not being embarrassed. Like if you're okay with being embarrassed, because you may be embarrassed a time or two when trying to speak the language, it's okay. They understand that it's not your native language. And just like, in English, in America, when we have people who are trying to speak to us in English and we know that they're stumbling across their words, we don't make a big deal out of it. Now let me pause for a second, because there are some people.
Yeah, some people do make a big deal out of it.
There are some people who say, and I understand this, but I don't agree with it. You are in my country, so you should speak the language. Okay.
Yep.
This is an American construct where, like, when you ask, I've heard this saying before. Where do you go where there aren't many bilingual people? And I'm not saying the quote correctly, but most people are gonna say America, because Americans typically want other people to bend to their language and speak English. Even some expats that travel across the world to other places, like Egypt or Dubai, and they speak a lot of English in Dubai, by the way, but just other places like Mexico or Spain, they are wanting people to speak English to them, and you have to understand you're in someone else's home, you're in someone else's country. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I think as Americans, we should also take a step forward. We're trying to meet people where they are and learn a little bit of their language, because I feel like human interaction is a two-way street, and it takes two people. And I understand that there are people who live in America who have lived there for years and years and years and don't speak a lick of English. And what I found, Kelly, because I've met somebody who lived in the States for like 30 years and don't speak English. And when you speak to them, honestly, it's not that they don't even speak English. They're afraid to use the language because of how they have been conditioned.
Okay.
They're afraid. They know the basics. They know the basics. But if they have a relative or a child around to communicate, they're going to lean on them.
Yeah.
But if they're by themselves, they can ask for the restroom, they can ask for food, they can speak it, but because of the culture, they're just afraid. And then right now, everything that's going on with ICE and stuff, I mean, I don't know if you felt this when you went back home recently, but I find myself unconsciously speaking Spanish. I was in a, let me granted, I was in a Mexican restaurant. I was in a Mexican restaurant, and they had people there who were of the Latin culture, Hispanic culture. And so I naturally just speak Spanish. And what I realized is that I got looks as if, why are you speaking to, we're in America, why are you speaking to me in Spanish? And it was a different kind of vibe to it. And I had to realize with everything politically that's going on, I started thinking people don't want to get caught speaking a language because they don't want to become targeted. So they will be very clear at speaking the English that they know and not speaking the language that they were born with, just to not be ostracized or targeted. And I picked that up on several different occasions. I was like, oh, okay, this is a thing. But speaking a language even here can be embarrassing. People will help you, but just don't be afraid to try. Talking to the locals, don't expect perfection, and it will be okay.
Yeah,
it will be okay.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I mean, just like we are here, we need to learn to speak Spanish. You know, I understand people. Yeah, if you're in the States, English is the language. However, the United States is one of the few countries that only teaches one language to their people. Most countries teach multiple languages to their people.
Well, we do in America, but you don't.
As a standard, though, like it's a standard in the school system.
It's a standard. Well, where I'm from, it was a standard. In high school, you had to learn a second language. But that goes to the point, your age, you're older, and so it may not stick as well.
Yeah.
So when in other countries, they're learning second languages a lot younger.
Right.
A lot younger.
I remember in school having to I took a Spanish class, but it wasn't anything where I couldn't graduate if I didn't know this other language or didn't pass this. You know what I mean? Like, it was. Yeah, it wasn't that big of a deal. Maybe it's just the state I'm from, you know. And at that time, but you were in California.
I was in California,
so there's a lot of Spanish-speaking people there.
True,
I was in Missouri. Like, there weren't a lot of Spanish-speaking people when I was growing up. It was not. It was really black and white. You may see a few other, cultures, but it was really black and white.
Got it.
So it was just a different environment.
Got it.
So just like if I was in Texas, I would probably be more exposed, or New York, be exposed to more Spanish speaking, because you have more people there. Florida, of course, especially South Florida.
Chicago.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
So I think it's just a difference. But let's go ahead. Like we said, we're gonna wrap it up because we've been on here for over an hour. So Spanish isn't just about speaking, as we've talked about. It's about the context, the body language, the energy, the building of relationships, respecting the culture. Like, that's a big thing. People just don't have respect for each other in general. But you need to respect people, their culture, and conform to that culture, because if that's where you're living, then you have to do things the way they do things, and you just deal with that. It may not make sense. It may not be as easy as what you're used to, but this is what it is, and this is what you have to do, so deal with it. Everything isn't going to be that way. You're not always going to feel confident, so it's okay. Be comfortable with the uncomfortable, and just know that, don't let the fear of language stop you from moving or living your dreams or doing whatever it is you want to do. That is something that can be conquered. You may not ever be fluent 100% in that language, but I feel like if you can get to the point of being intermediate in your lifetime, I feel like you're good. Like, you can hold a basic conversation, you can make friends and do things. I feel like that's an intermediate level, So I feel like if you just get there at some point, you will be fine. So that's what we have for this week about if you need to know Spanish to live in Medellin, or if you just need to know the language of the country in order to move to that country.
And the answer is no, but the answer is, the elaborate answer is, you want to try.
Yeah,
you want to try.
Yeah, you want to try to learn at least the basics of the language. So hopefully that was helpful for you guys. If you don't have our 90-day relocation checklist, we do have that in the link below, so you can go pick that up for free. If you are thinking about moving abroad anywhere, that can help you get started. we are, again, I know our content is specifically for Medellin Colombia because that's where we are, but however, you still need that checklist for whatever country you go to. So pick that up. And then also that puts you on our list so that when we have our relocation guide for families come out, you will get an email to let you know that it's available and you can pick that up. So make sure you just check the description below and you'll find that information. So we have anything else, sweetie?
We don't have anything else, nada.
Nada.
Pero es muy importante para tú necesitas practicar todas las días. It's really important for you to try to practice your Spanish every single day. So get on Duolingo, get on Preply, find a neighbor, find a friend in class that you can practice with. And with that, we are Mamas Beyond the Matrix, and we will check you in another video.
All right, we'll see you next Friday. Bye.
Bye.